जय गिरिवरधारी। जय यशोदनन्दना जय प्रजनरञ्जना जय प्रजनरञ्जना। जय यमुनातीरा वनचारी जय कुंज बिहारी। जय यमुनातीरा वनचारी जय कुंज बिहारी। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे। जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी। जय गोपी जन वल्लभा जय गिरिवरधारी जय जय यशोदनन्दना जय प्रजनरञ्जना जय प्रजनरञ्जना। जय यमुनातीरवनचारी जय कुंज बिहारी। जय यमुना Jai Shri Shri Radha Madhav ki. Jai Shri Krishna Balaram ji ki. Jai Shri Shri Jagannath Baladev Subramai ki. Srila Prabhupada Srila Gurudev ki. Ananta Kori Vaishnavrinda ki. Nitai Gaura Premanande. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we welcome all devotees today, reading from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, text 22. Ananyas chintayanto maha ye janaha paryupasate tesham nityabhiyuktanam yogakshemam vahamyaham. Ananyas chintayanto maha ye janaha paryupasate tesham nityabhiyuktanam yogakshemam vahamyaham. Ananyas chintayanto maha ye janaha paryupasate tesham nityabhiyuktanam yogakshemam vahamyaham. Prabhus.
Ananyas chintayanto mam ye janaha paryupasate tesham nityabhiyuktanam yogakshemam vahamyaham.
Let Kulashekar Prabhu chant. Carry on, Prabhu. Newcomer Prabhu. Ananyas chintayanto maham ye janaha paryupasate tesham nityabhiyuktanam yogakshemam vahamyaham. Matajis. Chintayanto maham ye janaha paryupasate tesham nityabhiyuktanam yogakshemam vahamyaham. Ananyas chintayanto mam ye janaha paryupasate tesham nityabhiyuktanam yogakshemam vahamyaham. Ananyaha, having no other object. Chintayantaha, concentrating. Mam, on me. Ye, those who. Janaha, persons. Paryupasate, properly worship. Tesham, of them. Nitya, always. Abhiyuktanam, fixed in devotion. Yoga, requirements. Shemam, protection. Vahami, carry. Aham, I. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki. Please repeat the translation. But those who always worship me with exclusive devotion, meditating on my transcendental form, to them I carry what they lack, and I preserve what they have. Please hear the purport. One who is unable to live for a moment without Krishna consciousness cannot but think of Krishna 24 hours a day, being engaged in devotional service by hearing, chanting, remembering, offering prayers, worshipping, serving the lotus feet of the Lord, rendering other services, cultivating friendship, and surrendering fully to the Lord. Such activities are all auspicious and full of spiritual potencies, which make the devotee perfect in self-realization, so that his only desire is to achieve the association of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such a devotee undoubtedly approaches the Lord without difficulty. This is called yoga. By the mercy of the Lord, such a devotee never comes back to this material condition of life. Kshema refers to the merciful protection of the Lord. The Lord helps the devotee to achieve Krishna consciousness by yoga. And when he becomes fully Krishna conscious, the Lord protects him from falling down to a miserable conditioned life. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapada Kamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavanishwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namni Gaure Tvishe Namaha Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripaha Sindhubhya Evacha Patittanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabho Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Ananyas Chintayanto Mam Ye Janaha Paryupasate Tesham Nitya Abhyuktanam Yogakshemam Bahamyaham. This is one of the most beautiful verses from Bhagavad Gita. And this verse is so important to us because it is actually very nicely telling us the powerful protection of the Lord. It also tells us the supreme guarantee that Krishna gives us. Krishna is so kind that when you come to take up bhakti, two things happen. Whatever that we already have, Krishna protects. That's what Krishna says here. He says, to them, I carry what they lack. Whatever that we don't have, He will provide. And whatever that we already have, He will preserve. This is a very important part of devotional service. Sometimes when we come to devotional service, we are very afraid that when we come to devotional service, we will lose something. That is a general fear because we are taking up a different lifestyle. And very often when we take up a different lifestyle, we think that we have to sacrifice something. We take up the 4 regulative principles, we start changing our lives so that we can read more, we can chant more, and that means something has to be given up, isn't it? So we always think that we are lacking in something. And very often when we come to Krishna consciousness, we had a different life and suddenly our life is changing. So sometimes it's not uncommon for devotees to feel that we are lacking something, that we are losing something. But Krishna says here in Bhagavad Gita that actually if you take up devotional service, then what happens is I will actually protect you. The word Shema is here. Shema means the protection of the Lord. And this Shema is given by Krishna as a personal protection. That's why the word Aham is here. Yoga Kshemam Vahami Aham. Aham means personally. Aham means Krishna himself. Krishna doesn't send an agent to protect us. Krishna actually will make all the effort to protect us. So actually, whatever that we have taken up in spiritual life, we have not lost anything in material life. If we think we have lost something in material life, that which we appear to have lost is actually meant to leave us. This is something we should understand. Sometimes we calculate in terms of, I had 10,000 bank balance, I took up Krishna consciousness, now I have $6,000 bank balance, Krishna took 4,000. Krishna didn't take 4,000. It's just part of your life that you may have to lose 4,000. So you may gain something, you may lose something, but ultimately in Krishna consciousness, you don't lose anything. This is the point we have to understand. Last week we had the wonderful association of Gauranga Darshan Prabhu, and he was telling us about the verse before this, which was 921. And this verse, if you read it carefully, it starts with the word but those who worship me. The word but those who worship me is there because of the previous verse. And in the previous verse, it was very clear that actually in that verse, the emphasis that Krishna is giving in that verse is that whatever that is impermanent and temporary, if someone were to run after that, you may get something, right? From the Vedas, there are so many portions of the Vedas which are known as Karma Kanda. And in Karma Kanda's portions, if you want good life, if you want long life, if you want a good husband, good wife, if you want to leave this world and go to Swargaloka, right? All the necessary ingredients that are necessary for you to do that, it is given actually in the Vedas. The Vedas prescribe for that. But what happens is, despite you going perhaps to Swargaloka, perhaps to enjoy yourself for a long time in the heavenly planets, eventually Krishna declares to Arjuna, you will have to come back again. This is an important point. Whether you like it or not, the time for you to come back from Swargaloka is always there. In fact, inhabitants of Swargaloka themselves are not permanently placed there. That we should remember. Even the post of Indra is not permanent. If the post of Indra is not permanent, what makes us think we can permanently stay in Swargaloka? Eventually Indra has to leave Swargaloka. Eventually, by the power of this material world, there will be annihilation. And once there is annihilation, it will come to an end. So this point is very important. That is why it is stated that actually, whenever Krishna gives us an opportunity, Krishna is known as Samanjas, right, in Bhagavatam. When Krishna gives us an opportunity to take up some form of bhakti, we should never take it for granted. You know, there's that famous story of Chandulal, isn't it? You all must have heard of that. This Chandulal, you know, he was always claiming to be a devotee. And he was always praying and making a big show of his devotional service. So Narada Muni one time came to Krishna in Dwarka and asked him that, Krishna, actually Chandulal is a great devotee. And every time he's asking to come back and see you and be with you. So what should I do? And Krishna actually had a different opinion. Krishna said, I don't think Chandulal wants to come. But if you want to try, do this. Go and see him, talk to him, and tell him that I am prepared to accept him now, in whatever form he is. He can come back to me right now. That means not going to Swargaloka, nowhere. Going back to Krishna, going back to Godhead. So what happens is, Narada Muni in happiness, he goes to see Chandulal. Chandulal has just gotten married. And so when Chandulal sees Narada Muni, he is very happy. He receives him, he talks to him, he greets him. And Narada tells him that I've got good news for you. The good news is that whatever happens, Krishna by his great mercy has allowed you to come back to him now. If you drop everything right now, come back, you will be with Krishna. Actually, that's very interesting, right? If Jagannath now told you, now itself, if you give up your life, you can come back to me. Are we ready? It's a big question, isn't it? Huh? Are we ready? You know? Ready. So, Prabhu is saying ready. That's very good. So Chandulal said that I'm ready. But see, what will society think if I leave my wife? I just got married to her. Hardly 1 month, you know, was there. And now if I leave her, people will think very badly of iskcon, isn't it? They'll think very badly of Krishna consciousness. What kind of devotees are here, leaving their wives and just going back to Krishna? And ultimately, Krishna, it won't reflect well on you. People will not like you also for what you're doing. So do one thing. Let me stay here for a few years. Let me have some children with my wife so that my wife will become satisfied. Once there are children, she will lose interest in me. Then I am ready to go back. So Narada was a bit disappointed, but he thought, no, the fire of devotional service is still in him. Let me come back in a few years. So he comes back in a few years. And now the children are there. They are grown up. And in fact, one child has already gotten married. So then Narada says, Chandulal, Krishna's offer still stands. You want to go back now? Surely after so many years, you would have got a little bit tired of family life, isn't it? You've got the kicks of it and everything. Come back. Chandulal says, even now I'm ready to come back. Now I'm ready to come back. But you see, the children have grown up. One of them has got married. Daughter-in-law has just come into the house. Now when daughter-in-law comes in, Narada, you don't know, but I know because I'm married. When daughter-in-law comes in, there's always bound to be some friction between daughter-in-law and mother-in-law, isn't it? So if I am not there, imagine what will happen in the kitchen. My poor son will die. So what will people think of Krishna also? You know, that like this halfway through family life, he's just snapping me away. What will people think of our movement? What will people think of bhakti? It's not good publicity. So let me do one thing. Let me take care of my wife, make sure she manages my daughter-in-law, daughter-in-law manages wife. Then after a little while, I'll be ready, bring me back. So Narada was getting a bit impatient. He said, all right, one more time I'll come. And one more time when I come, you better be ready. Because Krishna is giving you mercy. Shema, protection, unlimited mercy is giving you. Just come back. And so he comes back after a few years. Now when he comes back, he sees grandchildren are running all around. Chandulal is very prosperous. Now when he walks in, Chandulal is at the top of the stairs. Now when Chandulal sees Narada Muni, he realizes he has no more excuses. Everything is done. So he tries to run, he runs very quickly to escape Narada. But in the bit of his running, he slips and he falls down the stairs. He breaks his neck and he leaves his body. So Narada is very disappointed. He was thinking this Chandulal had so many chances, but he missed it. So he goes back to Krishna and he tells Krishna, Krishna, this is the sad news about Chandulal, that he had a chance to come back, but he did not take your mercy. And Krishna was smiling. Krishna said, still my mercy is there. Still my protection is there. Chandulal has taken birth as a dog. And he's a dog outside his old house. Because he was so attached to his house, next life he has become a dog. And he's sitting outside, just like a pet. And he is guarding the house. Now you go and talk to him and tell him that even in animal form, I am ready to bring him back. That is unparalleled protection. Okay, even in animal form, this is what we call a package that you will never get. You can go back also. And so Narada Muni thought Chandulal definitely will accept it. So Narada went to the house. Everything was very quiet. Doors were open, windows were open, no one was at home. And then below the tree, just opposite the house, Narada saw one very grumpy looking dog, just lying down and watching the house and growling. So Narada goes to him and says, hey Chandulal, can you hear me? Chandulal looks up and says, Narada ji, I'm just, thinking what a disaster I made of my human life. So much opportunities you gave me. And even now you're giving me the opportunity to remember you. Otherwise in animal consciousness, how can I remember you? But surely you are giving me the chance again. But I'm so upset also that I did not take it. So Narada said, enough talk. Last time you talked so much and you died. Now stop talking and you're in dog life. But even now Krishna can bring you back. So get ready, get up and come with me. We'll go back to Krishna. Chandulal said, even now I'm ready to go back. Nothing changes. Huh? In any form we are, nothing changes. But he said, but Narada, I have one problem. Narada said, what problem you have now? You're a dog, for God's sakes. And he said, no, you don't understand. This family of mine is so irresponsible. All my hard-earned wealth, jewelry, money, it's all in the house. But see, Narada, the door is open, the windows are open, and they have gone out for sightseeing. They are thinking that I should guard the house. Of course I should guard the house, but what irresponsibility they have. So do me a favor. Let me guard the house now and make sure nothing is gone. Sometime later when I realize that they are not so frivolous, then you can come back and then I will go. The mic is going on and off. I don't know why. Is it because of the battery? Okay. And so then what happened was, Narada then decided at that point of time that there's no point trying to help Chandulal. Because even as a dog, he was still given a chance by Krishna to take up devotional service. But even at that point of time, he was not prepared to do so. So it shows us one very important point, that actually the merciful protection of Krishna is like rain. Rain is pouring all the time when it's supposed to pour. But are we ready to receive the rains? The merciful protection of Krishna is like the sun. The sun is shining. Whether it is in a dark place, whether it is in a polluted place, it doesn't matter. The sun is equal. Everywhere the sun shines. But if you create barriers for the sunlight to come through, how will the sun reach you? This is the point. Yogakshemam vahamiyaham. Krishna's protection has never stopped. From the time we came into this material world because we wanted to be separate from Krishna, his protection has always been there. His ability to protect our consciousness so that we can revive our love for him is always present. But we are not prepared to do that because of conditioned living. That's why I think Arjuna was told by Krishna in the second chapter, 42nd verse, 43rd verse, he says very nicely, Yam imam pushpitam vacham pravadanti avispaschitaha vedavadavata partha nanyat astitivadinaha. In that verse, right, there are two verses there. It's very clearly stated by Arjuna, by Krishna to Arjuna, that men with small knowledge, they are very much attached to the flowery words of the Vedas. That's the problem. We are very attached to so many other scriptures which give us an opportunity to enjoy in this material world. But we don't want to be attached to Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam, because Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam tells us that enjoyment in this world is temporary, and therefore we are not interested. But Krishna clearly says that these Vedas, they recommend fruitive activities. That means they are asking you to perform something and you get some good karma from it. And based on the good karma, because we want to enjoy our senses, the Vedas give us the facility to go to these Swarga Lokas and these other Lokas. But eventually, after going there, we don't realize that we are going to come back to this world again. So therefore, if we have small knowledge, very nicely stated by Krishna, men of small knowledge will be attracted to the Vedas. But we should be attracted to the Bhagavad Gita, because the Bhagavad Gita is giving us the royal road to Krishna. And that is a very important point. So now Krishna in 9:22 tells Arjuna very nicely that actually there is another path. But, the word but is there. There is another path. And this path is known as the path of Ananya Bhakti. It's very important. Ananya Bhakti. Ananya means no other object. You see the word to word today? You will find that Ananya means no other object. No other object is a very important point, because it means that we have no other object in our life except Krishna. When we talk about Krishna, it invariably means Krishna, his paraphernalia, and his devotees. So that doesn't mean when we take up Ananya Bhakti that there are no devotees in our lives. It means we must have more devotees in our lives, because devotees please Krishna. And when we please devotees, Krishna becomes pleased. So therefore, a very important component of Ananya Bhakti is exclusive devotion to Krishna and sincere service to his devotees. That is very important, because Krishna is never alone. Srila Prabhupada says in all his purports that Krishna always means his entourage, his assembly of devotees. And that includes all the devotees who are remembering Krishna. So this word Ananya is very important. And if you look at the word to word meaning, Prabhupada takes out the word Ananya and puts it as exclusive devotion. When you say something is exclusive to someone, it means actually that there is nobody else who is getting that attention except Krishna. In the same way, we must manage our lives in such a way that actually our lives are always moving between worship of Krishna, remembrance of Krishna, service of Krishna, and serving his devotees. If we can manage our life that way, then Ananya Bhakti will start developing in our hearts. Now some of us may ask the obvious question. All of us are not brahmacharis sitting in the temple full time. We are working, we are mothers, we are housewives, we are fathers, right? We have so many responsibilities. So how can we become Ananya Bhakti in that situation? Krishna says it so many times in Bhagavad Gita. In the 5th chapter, I think, he says, Yoga Yukto Vishuddhatma, Vijitatma Indriya. I think it's 5.7 or 5.10. There, Krishna very clearly says, Yoga Yukto Vishuddhatma. Is it there, Prabhu? Vijitatma Jitendriya, Sarva Bhutatma Bhutatma, Kurva Napina Lipyate. Look at the translation. One who works, now we are talking about working. So wherever you are, you have to work, isn't it? So one who works, but the mood of working is, Krishna, whatever work I'm doing, the results of that work is to you. I offer it to you. That means whatever Lakshmi that we get, we must always put aside some Lakshmi for Krishna. What are we giving to Krishna? It could be a project, it could be to the temple, it could be for anything, but it must be given to Krishna. When we work in that way, that work has devotion. It is laced with devotion. That's why it's very important as devotees to always set aside something for Krishna. Daily, monthly, yearly, because that will ensure that our work always maintains a purity. You see, one who works in devotion, who is a pure soul, pure meaning that in our working, our only motive is ultimately to do this work, to sustain ourselves so that we can perform service to Krishna. Such a person is one who controls his mind and senses. When we work in devotion to Krishna, two things automatically will come. We will control our mind because we know who the object of our worship and the object of our work is. Very important. And the second thing is our senses. Both our mind and senses become controlled when we are working. And when we are working for Krishna, such a person becomes very dear to everyone. Everyone loves such a devotee. And everyone is also dear to him. This is an important concept. And look at the last line that Srila Prabhupada gives in translation. Though always working, he's not always sitting down, not always idle. He's always working. Though always working, such a man is never entangled. Very important. Kuran api na lipyate. He is not entangled in this world. So therefore, when we take up Ananya Bhakti, please don't have the idea that Ananya Bhakti can only happen when you sit in Vrindavan Dham and you become full-time devotee. There's no such thing as a full-time devotee. Any devotee who devotes his or her time for Krishna and who is really surrendered and as absorbed as they can be, that devotee is already performing Ananya Bhakti. This we must remember. And this Ananya Bhakti is so powerful because of the word Chintayantaha. If you look at the word-to-word meaning of Chintayantaha, what does it say here? Chintayantaha means concentrating. Concentrating. You know, when you want to take juice, if you take concentrated juice, the taste is very nice, isn't it? But what happens if you dilute it? Then you find that the taste becomes diluted. It's not flavorful. Sometimes what people do is they give you some drink, but they dilute it so much to save money so that they can give more drinks to everyone. But in the end, the taste is compromised. But what happens if they give you the full, the full essence of the juice? Then it is concentrate, isn't it? So therefore, there is a link between Ananya Bhakti and Chintayantaha. The more concentrated we are in our devotional attitude, not just service, but our attitude, right? Because the attitude defines the service. Always remember that. You may be doing service, but if your attitude is not devotional, the service is mechanical. But if your attitude is devotional, your service is very, very pleasing to Krishna. This is a very important point. So Chintayantaha is connected to Ananya. The more concentrated we are in the way we perform our bhakti, the more Ananya our bhakti becomes. You see the connection? The more Chintayantaha our bhakti is, the more Ananya the bhakti will become. Then there is nothing else between us and Krishna except to serve Krishna and the devotees. What is that verse? Aham hareta vapadai kamula dasanudaso bhavitasmi bhuyaha manasmareta supate gunamste Granitava karma karotu kayaha. Is it 6:11:24? I think it's, is it? 6:11:24. I think it's 6:11:24. Yes, Prabhu. In 6:11:24, Vritrasur. You remember last week also, Gauranga Darshan Prabhu, he spoke on Nanaka Prishtam Nachaparameshtam. Here also, when we talk about Ananya Bhakti, again we must speak about Vritrasur. Because you see his prayer here. If we want to learn how to become Ananya Bhakta, if we want to learn how to be Chintayantaha, then look to what his prayer is here. His prayer is so nice. He's saying, "O Lord, when will I again be able to be a servant of your eternal servants who find shelter only at your lotus feet?" He's praying, when will I do that? So another component of Ananya Bhakti, another component of Chintayantaha is always hankering to do more service. In the material world, material hankering catches us, isn't it? We are always hankering for something. I want this, I want that, I want to upgrade, I need a new house, I need a new car, I need a new wife. All these things are there. But in spiritual life, it's very different. In spiritual life, it's very different. In spiritual life, we are also hankering, right? Prabhu, when will he finish? When will prasadam be served? That hankering is there. But the devotee who is really serious about Krishna also hankers, when will I be able to serve? When will I be able to serve? You see? Can I do something for you, Prabhu? Can I do something for you, Mataji? That eagerness, to serve. Not that I have served. I'm done now. My quota is enough today. Prabhu, sorry, we have to exceed the quota now. Right? And we can't do it. That's what happens. But no, a devotee's hankering never ends. So that's the first point. The second point is, O Lord of my life. This is really nice point. This is another synonym for Ananya. O Lord of my life. Asupate, right? Asupate. Asupate means Lord of my life. If you make someone the Lord of your life, if you say you are my life, that means whatever you do, you are always looking to the object of your love. Isn't it true? So Vritrasur is saying, Krishna, you are the Lord of my life. That's the beautiful point. Who else said that? Tavakatamritam tapta jivanam. The gopis say that too. The gopis say, Krishna, because of you our lives are being sustained. That is Ananya. That is another point of Ananya. Right? Tavakatamritam. Prabhu, come back to this, Prabhu. I just made a digression. You can come back to this. So this is very important. Now see what Vritrasur says. He is now showing us, practically speaking, how to transform Chintayantaha into Ananya. Now he's saying, I want to put all my energy and all my concentration in what way? One, I want my mind to always think of your transcendental attributes. This is how we become Chintayantaha and Ananya. The more we concentrate our mind on Krishna's wonderful attributes, his characteristics, his qualities, the more we become Ananya in our bhakti. That's why daily we have to read about Krishna. How will you meditate on Krishna if there is nothing to meditate on? Isn't it? There must be some substance to meditate on, right? If you want to do concentrated juice, you must get the fruit first, isn't it? Then you squeeze it. If you don't have a fruit, how are you going to get the concentrate? It can't fall from the sky. So that's why Prabhupada gave us Krishna book. If daily we are reading Krishna book, all Krishna's transcendental pastimes and qualities and attributes are there, we will become Ananyas Chintayanto. We will be so fixed in that our mind will not go anywhere else. Our mind will always think of Krishna's transcendental attitude. If we don't do that, we will always think of other people's attitudes. That's what will happen. We will start thinking, oh, this person's attitude is not right, that person's attitude is not right, and we will criticize people. Then we do not become Ananyas Chintayantoma. Second point, see what he's saying. My words always glorify these attributes. After hearing about them, after dwelling on them in the mind, what does he do? To make it deeper, to make it more concentrated, he's using his words to repeat. So that's why it's so important, whenever we hear about Krishna, we must repeat. We must speak about him. All of you are doing so nice preaching programs everywhere. In your own capacity, you're doing very nice preaching. What are you doing here? You're doing exactly what Vritasur wants you to do. You first must meditate on Krishna's transcendental attributes. Then you must preach about his transcendental attributes. In other words, use words to glorify him. Very important. Then it becomes more concentrated. And then finally, your body is engaged in the loving service of your Lordship. Your body will move where your mind goes, isn't it? If your mind told you today, let's go and watch a movie, you won't be at Gauranga Center. Your body would have moved to Golden Village. That's what would have happened. But instead of your body moving there, your body moved here. Because your mind and your words were absorbed in Krishna. And therefore your body followed. You see? So the value of the sharir is, it's only a platform. But it's the mind that is very important. And the only way to bring the mind to become concentrated with Krishna is this. Ananyas chintayanto mam. You see how simple it is. Prabhupada, in this purport, he says so nicely. He himself says in this purport. Now we're talking about 922 purport, today's purport. He says how we should concentrate our devotional service. See, he's giving nice examples. He says, hearing, chanting, remembering, offering prayers, worshipping, serving the lotus feet of the Lord, rendering other services, cultivating friendship, friendship with devotees. Don't cultivate animosity, cultivate friendship. And when we do that, we can surrender fully to Krishna. So how nicely all of these words that Prabhupada has given, these are all concentrates. You put them together in a mix and you get Ananya. That's what you would get. How nicely Prabhupada is given. And now Prabhupada says, these activities, devotional activities, they are all auspicious. They are all auspicious. This is a very important point. There is nothing in Krishna consciousness that is not auspicious. And because it is so full of auspiciousness, it is known as, what is that word? Shravana? What is that? Yeah, Punya Shravana Kirtanaha. Right? Punya. We have punya actually in spiritual life. Material punya is there, but it will be exhausted. But in spiritual life, we have punya kirtana. In other words, we can actually become very auspiciously situated just by performing devotional service. This is a very important point. Tava kathamritam tapta jivanam kavibiriditam kalmasapaham shravana mangalam. This is also there. By hearing about Krishna, everything becomes very, very auspicious. Shravana mangalam shrimadatatam bhuvi granantiye burida janaha. See the meaning of it. Just go down. Tapta jivanam, right? Life for those aggrieved in the material world. How nice, huh? Krishna is the life for those who are struggling in this world. Then you see Shravana Mangalam, giving spiritual benefit when heard. When heard. When we hear about Krishna, immediately there is spiritual benefit. And that spiritual benefit is all auspicious. Do you need a time to hear about Krishna? Prabhu, auspicious time to hear about Krishna, 10:31 to 10:34. After that, not auspicious, please stop. We are not going to do that, right? Right? We are not going to do that. Oh, Prabhu, I just read my astrology. Auspicious time for chanting today is only 9 minutes. After that, don't chant. No, that's not what we should do, right? For us, auspicious time means when we are chanting. When we stop chanting, it is inauspicious. That's what it means. So therefore, when we do Ananya Bhakti, without any other goal, not wanting this, not wanting that, which is material, then Krishna will really make that activity auspicious. So it comes to intent, Prabhus and Matajis. Why are we coming to Krishna? The more we purify our intention to come to Krishna, the more Ananya Bhakti will manifest. The less purified our intention is to Krishna, the less Ananya Bhakti there will be in our hearts. The less Ananya Bhakti there is in our hearts, the less concentrated juice of Bhakti there is in our hearts. And we will be drinking diluted orange juice. And we'll be thinking, why this taste is not very nice? We can't blame anyone. We have to blame our attitude. Our attitude. That's why the gopis said, there's another one here, I think. What is that? Vrajavanaukasham vyakti angate. I think it's 18th verse, Prabhu. The gopis sing it really nicely, and we should sing it together. Can you see it? Vrajavanaukasham vyakti angate vrijinahantrilam vishwamangalam tyajamanapchanas Tvatsprahatmanam Swajana Hridrujam Yannisudanam. What a beautiful shloka. See what the gopis are praying for. The gopis say, O beloved, your all auspicious appearance. See, again they are hammering the same point. Anything to do with Krishna is all auspicious. Your all auspicious appearance vanquishes the distress of those living in Vraja's forest. So we have to manifest Krishna in our heart through practice of devotional service. Prabhupada uses the word yoga, yoga kshemam. Yoga, the process of yoga, not the exercise yoga, but bhakti yoga. When we perform bhakti, then Krishna will vanquish the distress in our hearts. Our minds long for your association. See the mood? Isn't this the same mood of Vritasur? Always longing to do something for Krishna. Not, enough now, Saturday, done. Now tomorrow I cannot hear about Krishna. I have to apply for leave from bhakti. No, we long to hear about Krishna. Our minds long for your association. Please give to us just a bit of that medicine. See the gopis. They are saying, Krishna, just give us a bit. Even if you don't want to give everything, give us a bit of that medicine which counteracts the disease in your devotees' hearts. What is that disease? The disease of sense gratification. The disease of forgetfulness of Krishna. Some people say, Prabhu, you have done sinful activity. But sinful activities in this world are details. What is the principal sinful activity? Not to remember Krishna. Sin, Prabhupada said, is very simply the inability or the forgetfulness of Krishna. The moment we forget Krishna, in that empty space, all the sinful activities will start. There is no concentration, there is no ananya. So this point is a very important point that we should have. Now coming to the conclusion of this verse, now that Krishna has made it very clear, two words are very important. Ananyaha means without any other, exclusive. Chintayantaha means concentrated. How do we concentrate? Remember Vritasur and how he put his mind, his words and his body at the lotus feet of Krishna. Remember how he prayed so hard, how he's longing. Remember how the gopis are longing to serve Krishna. That longing must grow in us. The more we hanker for service, the more devoted and exclusively devoted we'll be. Sometimes what happens is, as we go on in devotional service, we feel that we shouldn't be working so hard. Early years we worked hard, later years we don't have to. And then what happens is, we may lose the taste, we may lose the fire, and we may actually attribute that to our body. But frankly speaking, if you look at 3.2.3 of Bhagavatam, I think, Uddhava says a very nice point in that shloka. And that is why Uddhava is an Ananya Bhakta. 3.2.3. Is that the verse, Prabhu? Just go down, Prabhu. Yes. Uddhava thus served the Lord continually from childhood. And in his old age, that attitude of service never slackened. This is Ananya Bhakti. The attitude of service never slackened. Otherwise, Chandulal, isn't it? I got a son, I got a wife, I've got so many things to do, so can't do so much now. 10 years later, I'll do it. As soon as he was asked about the message of the Lord, he at once remembered all about him. Now look at the purport. Prabhupada is hard-hitting in the purport. Transcendental service to the Lord is not mundane. The service attitude of the devotee gradually increases and never becomes slackened. Generally, in old age, a person is allowed retirement from mundane service. But in the transcendental service of the Lord, there is no retirement at all. On the contrary, the service attitude increases more and more with the progress of age. In the transcendental service, there is no satiation, and therefore there is no retirement. Materially, when a man becomes tired by rendering service in his physical body, he is allowed retirement. But in the transcendental service, there is no feeling of fatigue because it is spiritual service and is not on the bodily plane. Service on the bodily plane dwindles as the body grows older, but the spirit is never old, and therefore on the spiritual plane, the service is never tiresome. Uddhava undoubtedly became old, but that does not mean that his spirit became old. His service attitude matured on the transcendental plane. What a beautiful point. Avipakva. It means, pakva means to mature. It matured. This is very important. And we can see practical examples of that. Right? Subhanada Mataji is sitting there and she's doing service. She's hearing and she's doing service. How many years she has been doing that? And her service is not slackening. Kandarpa Koti Prabhu. He's sitting here every time. And if you want to live for 100 years, you go and see him. Right? He will give you the 100 years blessings and probably you'll get it. Some devotees come to me and say, Prabhu, I don't want to live for 100 years. I'm scared to see Kandarpa Koti Prabhu. I say, don't worry. The 100 years will be Ananya Bhakti. Because he's coming not for any motive. We see so many elderly devotees amongst us. Why? If you ask them, they will tell you, what am I going to do at home sitting down? I will look at him, he will look at me. That's what happens in retirement. And ultimately we'll fight with each other. So better I come here and I'm peaceful. There is nothing. This is the truth. And you see what Prabhupada says here? This is Ananya Bhakti. So concentration doesn't mean that, oh, I'm going through a difficult time, therefore no Ananya Bhakti now. Difficult time means more Ananya Bhakti. That's common sense. When you're in difficulty, you have to increase the intensity of your devotional service. If you decrease it, you will go deeper into the material difficulties. This is the point we have to understand. This is what Krishna is telling us. The gopis displayed Ananya Bhakti. In all difficult times, they never forgot Krishna. When Krishna left Vrindavan and never came back, did they say, forget about Krishna? They never did that. They just remembered Krishna so intensely that factually speaking, Krishna never left Vrindavan. Because of the gopis' devotion, Shastras will tell you that factually speaking, Krishna never left Vrindavan. Even though from a viewpoint of pastimes, he appeared to have left, but he never left. You see, Ananya Bhakti draws Krishna. Second example, Sita Mata. Sita was in the most difficulty. She was trapped by Ravana, brought there, her honor was compromised. Every day Ravana would harass her, all the she-demons would harass her. Ravana would entice her, would tell her that, I'm going to kill Rama. At one point, with his sorcery, he made it seem like Lord Ram was actually being killed and that actually all was lost. But even in all of that, Sita Mata never lost her focus on the lotus feet of Lord Ram. Never lost her focus, never did. Even to the point when Hanumanji wanted to carry her across and immediately she could be united with Lord Ram. What did she do? She said, no, you don't do that. Let him come and rescue me because that will uphold his dignity and that will uphold my chastity. Just see the Ananya Bhakti, the concentrated juice of devotional service. That's what she did. And this is Ananya Bhakti. Rukmini Mata had never seen Krishna. In those days, no WhatsApp pictures, no Facebook, there was no newspaper. It's not like she could pick up the Sunday Times. Oh, this is a picture of Krishna. Oh, I love him very much. No. Bhagavatam tells us Rukmini Mata had never seen Krishna, right? Normally, when you want to get married to someone, you want to at least have a photo, isn't it? Generally, right? It takes a very brave man and woman to say, I don't need to look at the photo. I will trust Krishna and get married to her. Until you see her, then it's a different story. But in the spiritual world, hearing about Krishna is as good as seeing Krishna. And the moment Rukmini Mata heard about Krishna from Narada, she enshrined him in her heart with Chintayantaha. and she conducted herself with Ananya Bhakti to Krishna. When Krishna heard about the glories of Rukmini Mata from Narada, Narada is always very good with this, what happened was he immediately became attracted to Rukmini Mata, just as the Lord becomes attracted to a devotee who is Chintayantaha. You see? So the more Ananya we are, the more Chintayantaha we are, the more attracted Krishna will also be to us. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj said, we should act in such a way that Krishna will want to see us. Not that we want to see Krishna, but our action should be in such a way that Krishna will want to say, who is this devotee? I want to see this devotee. I want to see this devotee. That's Ananya Bhakti. So you see the examples, how beautiful. The Vrindavan residents, the moment they had any difficulty, they went to Krishna. When they had no difficulty, they went to Krishna. In all situations, they were with Krishna. That is Ananya Bhakti. It is not that when things are bad, we increase our devotional service. We should. But when things are good, we should continue to increase our devotional service. That is very important. Now, from a principle of bhakti, Dhruva Maharaj is not considered to be a pure devotee at the start of Bhagavatam. You all know that. Because he came to Krishna with material intentions. But factually speaking, when you see and understand the episode of Dhruva Maharaj, you realize that even though he started from the viewpoint of not Ananya Bhakti, but he heard his mother. He obeyed his mother, who was a very great devotee of the Lord. And he went to Vrindavan. And there in the forests of Vrindavan, by the banks of the Yamuna, he actually spent his time following the instructions of Narada Muni and his mother. Narada Muni is a pure devotee. Another way to become Ananya Bhakta is to become connected to one who is Ananya. That is the secret for all of us. We may not be able to directly approach Jagannath. In fact, Shastras tell us it is impossible. We may go to see Jagannath right now, but it doesn't mean we're qualified. But when a devotee prays for us to Jagannath, we will actually skip all those difficulties and Jagannath will accept us. So Dhruva Maharaj had the mercy of a concentrated devotee like Narada. He had the mercy of a great mother devotee like Suniti. And in the end, when, because of his pure devotional service, what happened? He actually saw Krishna. He managed to see Krishna. And when he saw Krishna, he was so saturated in remembering Krishna that all his senses were enlivened. Right? 496 of Bhagavatam. Yonta pravishya mamavacham imam prasuptam sanjivayati akila sakti dara swadhamna anyascha hasta shravana shravana tvagadin. What is that last one? Prana namo bhagavate purushaya tubhyam. You see? What did he do? This is what he's saying. For so long, my senses were dead. But the moment I touched Krishna, or Krishna touched me, I became enlivened. This is the evolution of how a devotee who is not Ananya Bhakti can progress to become a devotee who is Ananya Bhakti. And remember the last principle that is stated in this verse. To those who are exclusively devoted to me, I give them what they lack and I preserve what they have. Dhruva Maharaj is the best example of that. He did not have the kingdom, but he was the rightful heir to the kingdom also. But he wanted to get the kingdom. But in the end, when he got Krishna, he thought, what a fool I've been. I don't want the kingdom. And the moment he renounced the kingdom in the heart, at that moment, Krishna gave him back. He gave him the kingdom and he gave him much more than what his father was going to be. And Dhruva Maharaj ruled not 1 year, 2 years, 36,000 years he ruled. That's a long time to rule, okay? Most people get fed up, I think. 36,000 years of ruling, very difficult. But he did it. So Krishna, when Krishna realizes a devotee is not attached to something, when initially he was attached, Krishna very often grants it anyway. It's like, I've given you the main course, now some side dishes I'll throw it in free, take it. And that's what happened with Dhruva Maharaj. He got it free. You see? This is the greatness. Another great example I can think of is Sudama. Sudama went to see Krishna actually only out of pure devotional service. He didn't want to take anything from Krishna. And frankly speaking, he wasn't interested in taking anything from Krishna. And when he went there on the excuse that his wife told him, please go and ask something from Krishna. He's your former classmate. He happens to be the king of Dwarka. You are beggar number one. So go and ask him for something. So he thought, let me go and see Krishna. And after seeing Krishna, Krishna never asked him, what do you want? And he never said, I want something. They just spoke of everything generally. They spent nice time together. And finally, he went to sleep. When he woke up, he thought, why should I ask Krishna for anything? I will just leave. And so he left. And when he left, and as he walked back, he was thinking in his heart actually, who am I but a poor Brahmana? And who is Krishna but the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Just by taking darshan of him, I have become very satisfied. And when he turned the corner in Porbandar, he saw that his shack had been turned into a palace. He couldn't believe it. And he saw his wife looking like Mahalakshmi. And he saw his children looking like denizens from the celestial heavens. And then he realized, Krishna is so kind that even though I did not even want to ask him for this, he was so kind that he nevertheless gave me this. So what do we lack when we come to Krishna? Sudama appeared to lack everything because he was so poor. But in the end, he received everything and more. More than that, he received the benediction of being blessed by Krishna. And at the end of that episode, you find that Sudama was not attached to all the wealth that he had. He continued his simple lifestyle. His wife and his family were very happy because they had something. But it wasn't important to him. The secret to Ananya Bhakti and the secret to the protection of the Lord is that the moment you decide that which you think you lack is not important to you, that day Krishna gives it to you. But the moment you think that which is material is very important to you, sometimes Krishna takes it away from you. But in either event, he will give you bhakti. That is very important. He will give you bhakti. And he promises that here also. This is a very important point. And Krishna will not only give you bhakti, but he will also give it to you personally. He says here, aham, yoga kshema vahami aham. Prabhupada brought up a very nice story in this particular verse, and we will end with this story. Prabhupada told us in the story that there was a great acharya known as Arjuna Acharya. And he was a great commentator on the Bhagavad Gita. And he was a great devotee of the Lord. Now one day in the morning, before he was going to take his bath and do his oblations and prayers, he was going through the Gita and he came to 922. When he saw Yoga Kshemam Vahami Aham, he then cancelled Aham. He struck it off. Because in his mind, based on his realization, he thought, Krishna can't be personally attending to every devotee's needs. Even if the devotee is Ananya Bhakta, Krishna is going to not personally come and protect you. He won't do that. So thinking that way, he struck off the word aham. Then he told his wife, I'm going to take bath. When I come back, you prepare some meal for me. They were very poor. They had nothing much. After some time, the wife heard the knock on the door. And when she opened the door, to her surprise, she saw two boys, one bluish in complexion and one whitish in complexion. And they were both carrying, in those days, they used to carry things like a seesaw. They would carry pots, but they would have a pole. So both the boys were carrying the pole and they were balancing. And so the lady asked, Arjuna Acharya's wife said, my boys, why are you here? And they said, we have brought you all the boga for your cooking. So she said, we are very poor, we can't afford all this. Who has sent you here? And the boy said, Arjuna Acharya has sent me here. He has gotten all this provision and he told me to send it to you so you can make some prasad for him. So the wife was very surprised. I thought he went to take bath. Where did he find money to buy all these things? She said, are you sure he asked you to get all of this? Wait here, I will ask him. And then suddenly the bluish boy became afraid. He said, don't ask him, because he was quite cruel to us. He actually beat us, Mata. And so he turned. And so to her shock, Arjuna Acharya's wife saw that there was red welts on the back of the boys. It was like a red line coming down. And she thought to herself, how can my husband be so cruel? I never thought he was so cruel. Wait until he comes back, then we'll see what happens. So the boys left everything and they left. And then Arjuna Acharya comes back and says, what is all this? And she says, what do you mean, what is all this? You told the boys to bring them here. We are going to cook, but where did you get the money? And why did you beat the boys? Arjuna Acharya was completely flabbergasted and completely bewildered. He thought, what boys are you talking about? And what beating? I can't beat anyone. I went to take a bath. I don't have anything to beat someone with even. And then she said, this is what happened to the boy. And the moment he heard about this boy being hit and that there was a red line across his back, because whatever it is, he was a great devotee, something struck Arjuna Acharya. Immediately he went inside his room and he opened the commentary. And when he opened the commentary, he saw that the red slash was no longer there. It was no longer there. Because what he thought was Krishna's mercy was wrong. Krishna was personally coming to give mercy. And whatever that he struck off was actually non-different from Krishna. Because every word that Krishna gives us in the Bhagavad Gita is a word of his truth. It's a word of his conviction. It is the word of his faith. And then he realized that this boy was none other than Krishna. And Krishna had actually come to teach me a very important point. That when we take up devotional service, Krishna is so kind to a devotee that he will personally protect the devotee. He personally came to see Dhruva Maharaj. He personally helped Ajamil. He personally helped Sudama. He personally protected all the residents of Vrindavan by lifting Govardhan Hill. In every Leela, Krishna never sent his representatives. When the boys of Vrindavan Dham were in danger, he personally rescued them. He never sent anyone ahead to rescue anyone. He did it himself. When Gajendra was in trouble, and Gajendra was considered just to be an animal, it was Krishna who came personally as Lord Vishnu on the back of Garuda. He could have told Garuda, I'm going to send you now. I'll deputize Sudarshan Chakra to come and just kill off the crocodile. Do the work and come back to me. I'll tick off. Today's job is done. He didn't do that. He personally went. He personally went. When the Devatas could not churn the ocean of milk, Krishna personally became Kurma avatar. Krishna personally sent breeze to waken them up. Krishna personally entered into the hearts of the Devatas in the mode of passion to encourage them. No, in the mode of goodness to encourage them. He entered the heart of Vasuki in the mode of passion to encourage him. He entered the heart of the demons in the mode of ignorance to encourage them. He became a 1,000-arm bluish form and sat on top the mountain. And from the top he turned and he churned. Everything that he has done in Bhagavatam is personal. What makes us think that he will not be personal in his protection? This is very important. If we want to be ananya in our bhakti, we must remember that Krishna will personally protect us. And therefore, be confident, Prabhus and Matajis, to take up this process. It's very important. Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki. Jai Srila Gurudev ki. Ananta Kodi Vaishravinda ki. Nitai Gaura Premanande. Maybe I can take one question, Prabhu. We have a presentation from Navagaura Prabhu, very important presentation for about 10 minutes. But before that, if there are any questions, any comments, I will try my best to answer them. The mic is here. Yes, Mahesh Prabhu. Hare Krishna Prabhu.
When you were presenting 3 to 3, I was remembering, in the Rajkot, from the Vyasdev to the Guru Maharaj.
Yes, Prabhu.
Nandakishore Prabhu Porananda, he shared actually that, while he was working, he did not work so much, but after retirement,
Yeah.
bhakti, he was saying that he has been working more than he actually worked in material life.
That's very true.
So I was just remembering.
Yeah. Thank you. It's true. Many of the great devotees who have come to iskcon, our spiritual masters and all, when they took up these important services, they took them up when they were older. They could have retired, they could have spent easier time, but they are doing this because they are concentrated in their devotional service. And they have nothing else in their heart, exclusively. Their heart is dedicated to Krishna and the devotees. Never stop serving the devotees. Always see good in devotees. And then you will be able to serve them well. If you find fault with devotees, how will you be able to serve them? Finding fault with devotees is as good as finding fault with Krishna. There will be no Ananya Bhakti in our hearts. We have to remember this important principle. Anything else? Yes, Leela Sundari. Can we pass the mic back there? Just across.
Guru, my question is that you have mentioned attitude, and when we don't have the right attitude, our devotional service becomes mechanical. So I see that sometimes when we don't have the right attitude, the devotional service is mechanical, and then again the attitude is bad, and then the service is mechanical. So how do I transform that entire thing? Such a thing has happened into a positive attitude and proper.
Yeah, that's a very nice point. How do we make our attitude from negative to positive, or more consistent at least? One of the most important things that we need is sadhu sangha. The more we take association of like-minded and advanced devotees, the more their attitude will rub off on us. So taking up service in that way will really help us. When we understand and are aware that our attitude is actually not good, that's actually Krishna's mercy. If you are able right now, if you're able to understand that sometimes my attitude is not good, the very fact that you have an awareness of it is already Krishna's mercy. It's yoga kshema. It's his protection actually. Because we can only fix a problem if we are aware that there's a problem. If you talk to someone who says there's no problem, you will never be able to tell him, Prabhu, you have a problem, because he will never be aware of it. But awareness is also Krishna. Right? When we become conscious that we are not doing something well, don't be negative about it. The fact that you're conscious of it is already Krishna's mercy. Now do something about it. That will help you. Become determined. Determination is very important. Dhrida vrataha. Taking vows to be determined. I want to stop this, Krishna. Please give me the strength. Talk to devotees who have succeeded in this. Ask from them to give you their blessings. Work with them. And be submissive to hearing from them, and you will grow. One other thing that I find that's very difficult with our attitude, to change our attitude, improve our attitude, is when we are not submissive enough to hear. Sometimes we raise a problem, we just hear everyone, but we don't act on it. Just for the sake of hearing, but we don't act on it. That is not good. When we want to hear something from someone, make sure we act on it. It will work, because the devotee's blessings is coming with that instruction. Is that helpful? Okay. Thank you very much, Prabhus and Matajis, for your time.